Hello and welcome everyone to the Marr Show. Thank you guys for joining me for another fantastic episode. I am really looking forward to the HBO Max streaming service that's coming out next month. And I have no idea what's gonna be on it. I don't know what the price is gonna be. I don't know what's all gonna be exclusive. So why am I excited for this streaming service in particular? Well, I'm only gonna get it just for one show. Or, to be more particular, a series of shorts that I am really looking forward to watch, and that's for the brand new batch of Looney Tunes cartoons that are coming out exclusively on HBO Max. After watching the trailer countless times, like more times than I will admit, I am really excited to see these batch of 1000 minutes of Looney-ness. These cartoons are bringing the Looney Tunes back to their proper roots from the 1930s and 40s and bringing back more Looney-ness and craziness within them. I am so excited. The animation looks gorgeous. It just looks so good. I cannot wait to watch them. And I figured, in honor of the upcoming release of the new batch of Looney Tunes cartoons, I want to go ahead and devote one more episode of the Marr Show and talk about 5 Looney Tunes video games in one episode. There's a lot to go through, so without further ado, let's get this over with. And the first game I want to talk about was actually suggested to me by my really good friend in real life, James. He's an excellent friend of mine, and he wanted me to talk about this one Looney Tunes game in particular. In fact, he allowed me to borrow his copy here for this review, and that game is Bugs Bunny in Double Trouble for the Sega Genesis. In the game, Bugs is sleeping without a care, but in his dream, Yosemite Sam is working on a giant carrot serum. Before Bugs can do anything, Sam orders Gossamer to fetch the rabbit's brain for his robot. As Bugs is running, he comes across a televisor that transports him into many different cartoons from his past. There's a few things about this game that I do like. Visually, like, the game looks good. It kind of has that Donkey Kong Country vibe where the characters are sort of 3D and the music is good for the most part. Although I'm gonna be honest, while playing this game, I had no idea what the heck I was doing. Like, I guess to be fair, I only devoted like a little bit of time devoted to this game, and it was just confusing. Like, I didn't know what the objective was. In fact, going through the environments was a bit of a mess, as the environments are sort of like a maze. Like, sure, there are some parts in the game where there are arrows telling you where to go. Other than that, it was just a maze. In fact, it kind of reminded me of like Home Improvement and Mighty Max on the Super Nintendo, where it's a platformer, but it's a maze and the objective isn't really clear to the player. Although, to be fair, looking at it, it looks about an average platformer on a Sega Genesis. Again, not awful, and I know there are some people that do like it, but for me, it is a bit of an eyesore going through the levels, figuring out what to do, and even exploring the levels. Like, I didn't know if I was going through circles in this dark cave or not. Not a bad game, just not that engaging for my liking. Although the next game I can safely say I was heavily invested in, and that's with the Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle. What I find interesting about this game in particular is that it's just a modified version of a Japan exclusive game titled Roger Rabbit. The game plays exactly the same as the North American version. The only difference is with the characters. Instead of Looney Tunes, you get Roger Rabbit and the Weasels. And I think it's kind of coincidental and sort of ironic given that Bugs Bunny appeared in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. They're both rabbits. They appeared in an NES system, with Roger Rabbit being on the family computer disk system in Japan, and I just think it's kind of ironic, really. Obviously, you play as Bugs in the game, and he goes through 60 levels in this crazy castle to rescue Honey Bunny, who has been kidnapped by Raleigh, Sam, Daffy, and Sylvester. This game is a platforming puzzle game. Bugs can't jump, which seems like an oxymoron if you ask me, so how does he get past through the enemies? Well, you simply take different routes and try to avoid the enemies. You can also use several different Acme items such as a boxing glove and a giant crate to take out Sam, Sylvester, and the others. I know some people may say this game is repetitive and not that engaging. In fact, I would agree and say the game didn't really deserve so many different sequels on the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. But for me, I personally love this game. The game's simple and isn't really long, but I enjoy the simplicity, and it's really challenging to figure out how to avoid these enemies and to get all 8 carrots in each level. And the music itself I do like. I mean, does it get a bit repetitive after a while? Well, yeah, but I do enjoy the nice little ditty that plays, especially like the first part of the game. I personally like the game. It's one of my favorites on the original Nintendo. And speaking of my favorites of a console, this next game that I got here is one of my personal favorite games on the original PlayStation. And you probably know what it is. It's Bugs Bunny Lost in Time. This is a classic game for many people, and a lot of people consider this to be one of the best Looney Tunes games out there. For the story, Bugs discovers a time machine, mistaking it for a carrot juice dispenser, and ends up being lost in time. He comes across a sorcerer named Merlin Monroe, who tells Bugs that he must go through different time periods and collect clock symbols and golden carrots to help him return to his present time. It's a really fun game. In fact, ironically enough, I had a similar experience with this game like I did with Duck Dodgers starring Daffy Duck on the N64. I used to rent this countless times as a kid, though it was a little bit more difficult compared to Duck Dodgers, so I never really got around to beating it back in the day. In fact, you can make plenty of comparisons to both Bugs Bunny and Duck Dodgers, as they're a bit similar in some places, and I enjoy both of them a lot, though if you asked me personally which one I would choose, as much as I love this game, it's a hidden gem that more people should discover on the N64, but I prefer Lost in Time just a little bit more. It has tons more collectibles to get, a lot of variety in different challenges and level designs, and it's also a bit more difficult. Like, it's not super hard or anything, but it did take me a little bit longer to complete this game. I was able to beat it in one day in like 7 hours, 100% complete, got everything. Not to mention, this game looks pretty good today in my opinion. It's a little dated, but I still love the bright colors and the atmosphere of it. And the composition of this game is great quality, like it is top tier Looney Tunes music material. And there's a lot I really like about this game, though there is one little fun fact about this game with the voice actors that I find really heartwarming a little bit. For the voice of Yosemite Sam, he was provided by archive recordings by the legendary Mel Blanc. And keep in mind, this game came out 10 years after his passing.
This here's mine! Come back here, you mangy mutineering rabbit!
I don't know why, but when people find creative ways to try to include people who are no longer with us to reprise their roles, I think it's something really heartwarming and very touching to see people wanting to continue the legacy of such legendary voice actors. Like Mel Blanc, he's like the most all-time legend voice actor. No one can compare to Mel Blanc. And it's just really cool to see them try to include him in future Looney Tunes projects, to want to keep him part of life because he made the Looney Tunes. Without him, we wouldn't have the Looney Tunes as we know them. The voices may not have been the same or as wacky as we know it, and we would have gotten amazing other voice actors to try to replicate the Looney Tunes voices like Mel Blanc does. In fact, this isn't the only time that they've done this. In Looney Tunes Back in Action, you know the car that DJ and Daffy drives? Well, the noise that the Gremlins makes was provided by Mel Blanc. And even in recent cartoons, like in Daffy Rhapsody, a CGI short that was released in theaters, that was done by using a song that Mel Blanc recorded as Daffy back in the 1950s. Honestly, there's not that much I can really talk about the game that hasn't been said before. It's just a fun game, and it's one of my personal favorite PlayStation 1 games. I highly recommend that if you haven't played it yet, give it a chance. You will not regret it. In fact, there's actually one other Looney Tunes game on the original PlayStation that I want to bring up a little bit, and that's Looney Tunes Racing. If you give me a kart racer, you know that I'll play it. I love kart races. Heck, I made so many different Mario Kart videos. In fact, I should probably make a series about kart racing games. That would be pretty cool, probably. It's a bit more simple than CTR or Muppet Race Mania, but it's still fun and I enjoyed it. Visually, the game looks alright. Some visuals do look a bit dated. The character selection, you play as a bunch of different Looney Tunes, way more than Looney Tunes Space Race, even though I love that game. There's also some fun single player challenges like the Acme challenges to unlock the museum. And this game also has a really unique item system. With most kart racers, you usually try to find an item box and you get an item like that. But with Looney Tunes Racing, it's actually a little bit more clever and something that you rarely see in kart races. You'll find these tokens scattered all across the track, and each token charges up your weapon. There are 6 weapons to choose from, and in order to get the highest item, which makes you invisible, you have to get 6 tokens worth. So let's say, for example, you want to get the Thunderstorm item, which is level 3 in the item ranking. You have to get tokens that equals up to 3 in order to use that item. Also in the game are these environmental hazards that you see across the track. They're usually activated by driving through these Acme gag arches, and this can be used to stop enemies and give them a nice surprise. As for the music, well, I don't really know what to really make with the music. It's not awful, it does sound good, though there are times where I feel like the composition is all over the place a bit, like it doesn't have a clear pattern of how they want the music set, and it feels like they play the same little type of music multiple times, like they kind of sliced it together awkwardly. That's really the only major complaint that I have with Looney Tunes Racing, but overall, if you're looking for a kart racer on the PlayStation, I recommend checking it out. It's not that bad. Whew! A lot of games we're covering for today's episode, but we're almost done here. We just got one more game to look at, and that's Looney Tunes Acme Arsenal. This is the Nintendo Wii version, but I used to play the game on the PS2. Unfortunately, my copy no longer works, so in order for me to revisit the game when I was out of town a couple months ago, I was able to find this pretty cheaply and just played it in. It's about the same as like the PS2 and Xbox 360, except you use motion controls to beat up enemies and such. The evil Dr. Frankenbeans has built an army of robots to destroy the Looney Tunes. But how, you might ask? Well, he plans to go back in time to destroy their ancestors. Luckily though, Bugs and Marvin steal his blueprints to build their own time machine, and it's up to all the Looney Tunes to save their ancestors and to stop Dr. Frankenbeans. I will admit, when I was thinking about replaying this game after years of not playing it, I don't really have much memories of this game. Like, I know I played it quite a bit on the PlayStation 2, but I don't really have that much memory. And even after playing it, I still don't have that much memory. It's, if I have one word to describe this game, it will be bland, forgettable, generic. More than one word. Okay, this game isn't really that bad. There are some good things to enjoy about it, like the controls work fine, the music is pretty good, and you do play as a bunch of Looney Tunes characters like Gossamer, Farco, and Lacorn, and I do love the idea of a Looney Tunes action beat-em-up style game. You can get away with tons of creativity using that type of gameplay in Looney Tunes. So the game had a good concept, but in execution, this is where I feel like the game got lost. Weapons are incredibly boring to use, and characters kind of feel the same, like you don't feel any different weight or different movesets, they all just play similar. And the environments lack a lot of detail. The gameplay footage I'm using here is obviously from the Xbox 360 version, and even with the higher quality, the game looks really bland and the environments doesn't have any pizzazz or major color in them compared to past Looney Tunes games. And I think the reason why I don't remember much about this game, even after recently playing it, is because it's just kind of bland and everything just kind of blends together. But not in a way where everything works, it just feels flat in a lot of places. It's more of a popcorn game, I guess you would say. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like a game that you will play for a little while, you know, you're satisfied with what you have, and then you put it down and you completely forgot what you played. I don't think I'm using the right terminology, as popcorn films are supposed to be like entertaining, but I just couldn't remember much of this game, unfortunately. In fact, to be fair, with the whole back in time to save their ancestors, I think that's a missed opportunity right there. And let me explain what I mean by that. One of my favorite games of all time, which I am hoping to cover very, very soon, is Epic Mickey. And with Epic Mickey, they brought back tons of characters and backgrounds and material from the Walt Disney Archives that not only pays tribute to Walt Disney's history, but was able to bring it back in such a unique way that just makes it feel brand new. And with the Looney Tunes having such a unique history, I think this would have been a perfect opportunity to do an epic Mickey route, where the Looney Tunes go back in time to their previous selves, heck, go back to like using the old art styles, and even using some of the more forgettable Looney Tunes characters from the past and bringing them back into this game. And that would have been an amazing concept. Not only would it please hardcore Looney Tunes fans to see developers acknowledging some of these old cartoon characters' existence, but also for people who may not be familiar with like the pre-Looney Tunes era, like from the late 1920s to the early 1930s, may not be familiar with that area, and bring them back in a brand new way. Like that would have been amazing. And you can go all out with like the art style of using like the old Bob Clampett and older Looney Tunes art style in like the level designs. That would have been so unique, and I feel like that they just missed that opportunity there. That would have been something really cool I would have liked to see, honestly. It really would. Again, this game is not bad, I would say. It's not like the worst thing known to mankind, but for a Looney Tunes game, it just lacks the looniness and the creativity that you come to expect with a Looney Tunes game. And so there you go. That's pretty much going to be my last Del Mar Show episode talking about Looney Tunes games. I reviewed a bunch in the past, and they all have been great fun, amazing, brought a lot of great childhood memories back. And really, aside from like maybe 2 games that I reviewed from this episode, the ones that I've took a look have been pretty good, I have to say. I know there's a bunch more Looney Tunes games out there, like a bunch more. I know I forgot to mention the Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner game on Super Nintendo, and Sheep Raider on PS1 is also a pretty good puzzle game, I have to say. There's a lot of great Looney Tunes games out there, so let's just all celebrate the wonderful looniness of Looney Tunes. And that's all the time we have for today, folks. So, in the comment section below, let me know what is your favorite Looney Tunes game of all time. Is it Lost in Time like for me, or is it some other different Looney Tunes game like Sheep Raider on PS1, or maybe you love Duck Dodger 64. I know there's a handful of people that are with me in this being a hidden gem, so I feel accomplished about that. So let me know what you guys think of the video. Thank you guys for watching this. God bless yous, and I will see y'all in the next episode of the Del Mar Show. Bye bye!